Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Today, what I'd like to do, as you can see, is go over this information that went along with the Muslim merchants assignment. There's a lot of different parts to this, and there's a lot of different interpretations for what you could have. So I wanted to make sure, kind of like what we did in class here, that everybody specifically knows why these factors led to the success. And then, especially down here at the bottom, when it talks about the mosque and bazaars as well. Okay. So what we can start doing is I'm going to be referencing back to the reading that went along with this. And if you guys look at the original posting, it has the reading pages, Merchants 1 and Merchants 2 right here. So you can get the specific details, which I have them right here on my computer. So I can just kind of reference them from there. But again, the starting question here is why were Muslim merchants or traders, business people, so successful? We've already mentioned before that this area, the Middle East, the Arab or Islamic empires, they are successful because of their geography to start, because they are literally the middle between Europe, Africa side and the India, China side. So they're kind of the middle crossroads between the two or four actually bigger areas of people trading. So their location is actually one factor that is not on this list, and these are going to go even further. So again, it says explain how each of these factors helped Muslim merchants become successful. So if I'm looking at each of these, especially for your notebook, you definitely should have the words. A lot of people added the pictures as far as a reminder, but you have religion and the guy praying. You have the Arabic language just with a little blurb in Arabic and the word bubble. You have a stack of coins and you have a little bank building. Okay, so we're going to try to dig down on this and see within the reading details basically how this works. Okay, so before this, the opening paragraph talks about how Muslim merchants traded with a bunch of different areas and the items they traded. I'm not going to get really into the details about all the spices and the glass and the rubies and all that, so I'm skipping ahead to some of this stuff in particular. Okay, so it starts with this saying Muslim trade flourished for several reasons. Muslims spread the religion of Islam along with the Arabic language. As a result, Arabic became the language of business and trade in much of Asia and Africa. Okay, so let's stop there for a second. They mentioned religion and they mentioned language. Okay, so it says they spread the religion of Islam along with the language. So what this is saying is religion, in this case Islam, became more popular in the areas where they were trading. So obviously, them discussing religion together or them kind of recognizing that one another was in the same religion helped them do more business, right? I'll make a comparison with like UK and U of L. If you're a UK fan and you find out that somebody else is a UK fan, or if you're a U of L fan and you find out that your neighbor is a U of L fan, then that starts a discussion. So this is the same thing with religion. So they find out that people are Islamic, it tends to make them want to do business with that group of people because they share those things in common. The Arabic language is very similar. The language of business being all the same language help people communicate. All the parties involved that are going to do business or going to trade items, them learning Arabic helps them again come up with contracts or come up with deals that they're going to make, or just talking generally about the trades or the money or anything involved with the business itself. Okay, so to stop there on the first two, obviously religion helped them become successful because a lot of people were the same religion or they talked about religion. The Arabic language, same thing. They're using language, a similar language to discuss business, to discuss money, to discuss trade, all those different things. Okay, so I'm going to go on with the conversation here from the text. Muslim rulers also helped traders by providing them with coins to use for buying and selling goods. This was an easier trading method than bartering for goods. Okay, bartering for goods, if you guys don't remember, maybe you've heard that term barter before, but bartering goods is trading items for items. Okay, so I trade you a certain amount of grain and you give me a shirt or a chair. Obviously, that's a pretty difficult way to do business because you don't really know what the value of certain things are. So if the value of a shirt is different in one region than it is in another, it can cause problems. So, as the reading says, a lot of the rulers, a lot of the kings, we'll call them, of these different areas started using different kinds of coins. And then those coins, much like they are today, represent a value that everybody agrees upon. So, if this coin is supposed to be worth 25 cents, everybody agrees this coin is worth 25 cents. And it makes it easier because now I can give you coins for that chair or for that shirt instead of having to trade you a bag of rice or a bunch of rubies or some kind of inanimate, some kind of object. Okay. So the coins help them be more successful because obviously of all the reasons we just said, the trade becomes a little easier to do. The values are all agreed upon, like what the coin's value actually is agreed upon. And again, basically it makes trade and business a little more streamlined than trying to figure out how much it would cost in shirts versus rice or corn or things like that. Okay, so last one here about the banking. This is kind of a tricky one. It says Muslim merchants kept detailed records of their business dealings and their earnings. In time, these practices created a new industry, banking. Muslims respected merchants for their business skills and the wealth they created. Okay, so we backtrack here. It says that a lot of these merchants kept very detailed records of how much they made, how much different things cost that they bought. And that type of record keeping eventually becomes the banking system. So they keep in the books, let's call it, they keep in their books how much this guy owes me or how much this thing cost. And that's eventually what becomes the first banks. Banks become businesses that loan money to people and kind of determine the values of certain things. So, as far as your answer for how banking helped them be successful, it would be the fact that they kept really detailed information about how much things cost and what kind of business deals they did. Because as the reading says, they keep track of their earnings, they keep track of who they did deals with, and that eventually becomes the banking system. Okay, so overall, here, like we've said, hopefully you have something for how religion helped them do business, how the language, how the coins, and how the banking, or I guess the detailed records, helps them do business. Okay, to wrap up the bottom part here, I'm going to move myself out of the way. We kind of already heard of mosques before when we talked about the religion. We know that mosques are similar to an Islamic church, they're a holy place. But in the reading, it talks about what other reasons they were important. And we wanted to add that to the notes because it's not just a place of worship. Same thing with the bazaars. A bazaar is what we would today know as a shopping center or a shopping mall, but you don't just go there to buy goods. There's a lot of other details. Okay, so I'm going to jump over to the information about mosques and bazaars and see if we have the details that we need for that from the reading. Okay, Muslim cities generally had narrow streets separating closely packed buildings. The main buildings were mosques and palaces. Mosques are Muslim houses of worship. They also served as schools, courts, and centers of learning. Okay, so if we stop on that one, the mosque is obviously the place of worship, so it's like a church. It also works as a school. It also works as a court. So they obviously had jury type discussions or what we today call a judge or some kind of a court case. So anything related to the law would also take place in the mosques. And it also says centers of learning, which I know is similar to a school, but you could be learning about other things. It wouldn't necessarily be just kids learning the basics. It could be somebody going, I guess today, what we would call a Bible study, something along those lines. So there's adults that could go there to learn things just as well. So schools, courts, centers of learning would be another important thing for the mosque. Okay, I'm going to go on for the bazaar part. Another important feature of every Muslim city was the bazaar or marketplace. Like shopping malls today, bazaars were full of shops and stalls where goods were sold. They were often covered to protect merchants and customers from the scorching sun. Nearby inns provided travelers a place to eat and rest. Okay, and they go on to talk about the other parts of the cities, the farmland, But for our bazaar part here, okay, as it noted, it is similar to a marketplace or a shopping center today. So people would obviously go there to buy goods, trade goods, sell goods. So all of that is still happening. It also says that the nearby areas would be similar to a hotel, where people could spend the night, they could find things to eat. Okay, so it's similar to a hotel now where they might have a little restaurant in the hotel. This is very similar because the bazaar would be near the hotels, or what they knew back then as the inns. So the inns would maybe have places where they could stop and rest, stop and eat, as well as doing the business like in a shopping mall. Okay. So again, I just wanted to touch base with you all on this because in class here we've been talking about the details of each of these. So as far as what you submitted, if you submitted something to me already, this is perfectly fine in notebook form, or if you've been keeping track of this like in a Google document or you shared it with me. So the takeaway from this is basically that you now have something as far as religion and how it led to their success, language, the coins, and the banking. So, how all these things kind of individually led to them being successful in business. And then down at the bottom, just again, the mosques, beyond being a church, they obviously had a couple more purposes, which we listed. And the bazaar, aside from being just a shopping center, it obviously had a few more purposes kind of to go with that. Okay. I'll just tell you all over the next couple of days, we're going to be getting even more into detail about some cool stuff related to Islamic inventions, different types of geometric art, and things of that nature. So we'll definitely be getting into some of the details about some of the cool stuff that they have as far as during their time period and things they invented or came up with. Okay, so hopefully, as far as this slide, you're all caught up and you have the information listed somewhere or written down somewhere. And for now, as always, I hope you all are staying safe and being well out there. And I will talk to you very, very soon. Okay, bye.